Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
You've known them to run their mouths about politics. Politics, schmalitics. Well, little did you know, they can run their mouths about other stuff as well. This is the Mark G Show. They have a natural curiosity about just about everything, from aliens, the paranormal, to the biggest natural disasters that have ever occurred on planet Earth, and everything in between. Two brothers from another mother ripping it up. And, oh no, we don't record the show. We have the balls to do it live. Call into the show at 207-370-5852. That's 207-370-5852. Be a part of the show. Let's do it. This is the Mark G Show. And now your hosts.
TikTok is going crazy already. TikTok, we got Amy Ames over on TikTok saying that intro is sick. Thank you for liking the new intro. Yeah, we love the new intro. And this new intro is brought to you, actually, I got to say, thanks to all of you all on TikTok for your support. You brought this intro to life, man. Y'all helped bring this intro to life. For that, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Everybody else over there, I hope everybody enjoys the show. We're going to talk about natural disasters today. And I really do. If y'all have been involved in a natural disaster, you know, you've been through a hurricane, massive hurricane, been through a massive earthquake, tornadoes, whatever it is. If it's a natural disaster and you've been through it, we want to hear from you tonight. 207-370-5852. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my brother from another mother. Came from the same sperm, though. Gary G. What's happening, brother?
What's happening? And that'll be another topic for another night, I guess.
Another podcast segment.
Right.
I guess you could say. Oh, shit. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let folks know before I hit the record button, I'm going to add this intro later on to the other stuff because I'm going to record the podcast in here just a second for Apple and Spotify. But before I do that recording, I do want to get a few things out of the way. As everybody knows, we are doing the show live on all social media platforms that we can. So we're live on Facebook and YouTube as well as Twitch, which we can see your chats directly over here. Gary cannot see y'all's chats over on TikTok. So I'll be monitoring the chat over on TikTok. So if y'all got any questions, feel free to post them down on TikTok and I'll try to answer them the best I can. For one thing, for the folks on TikTok, y'all know me for the man with a shit ton of animations and a bunch of sound effects when we do our live battles and so forth. You will not see a majority of that tonight. There are some stuff that will be working, but not everything. I have set up the podcast, so if we do get a new subscriber to our channel, we will get the little subscriber party that happens during that. Or certain gifts will set off sound effects. If we by chance get a universe tonight during the podcast, get a Leon the Lion or a lion, or if we get the TikTok shuttle, those are the only gifts that will make sounds tonight. Anybody that has special intro sounds for the show, those will not work, only because, like I said, this is a live recording on for Apple and Spotify. But a majority of those gifts I do want to see happen out here. So that's why I want to make sure you guys get the proper shout outs, especially if we get that pop. I saw that rose come through, my man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So yeah, if we do get those gifts, we're definitely shouting y'all out for that one.
And they're loud, so
they're loud.
torturing the shit out of both Mark and myself. So
yeah, they will scare the shit out of us. Alonzo says, I survived Hurricane Sandy. I'm glad you survived. That was a really, really bad hurricane, Alonzo. I'm glad you did survive Hurricane Sandy, my man. Please keep in mind, though, for folks that do call on the show, we do ask that you are 18 and older. One other thing I do want to get out of this part of the podcast is I'm going to wait till I hit my lovely record button over here. So we have a disclaimer because I never know where our podcast goes. Listen, Gary and I, we can go completely from one subject all the way to another subject that's not even on par from what we've decided that we're going to talk about tonight. So with that being said, let me go ahead and hit my lovely record button over here so we can actually start the show for Apple and Spotify. And let's get it rocking. I do see everybody pop, Top Chef, Liquor Bean Maker, Scream. I see all y'all out there. Oh, yeah, Gary, it's an interesting name, ain't it?
That one's spot on right there.
Yeah, there's some major interesting names on TikTok. But yeah, folks, we're going to make sure, if we get any of those gifts, you get the proper shout outs needed. Otherwise, anybody else that sends any certain gifts throughout the podcast, I'll make sure at the end of the podcast, we definitely thank you afterwards. Only natural disaster I seen was my ex getting blown all over. Couldn't take the trash out sooner. Oh, dear God. I wish I was already recording because that.
It's dark. It's dark right off the bat here.
Right?
Jeez.
TikTok's going in clutch. All right, we've got about 3 viewers on all the other social media profiles, folks. We're just firing up. Yeah. So let's get it. Let me hit the record button. Like I said, I can add the intro later on to the show. My camera's going to mess up, chat. I think I'm going to have to get a new live streaming camera in the very near future. Here we go. Recording for Apple, Spotify. 3, 2, 1. Don J. Givens, we are talking about natural disasters tonight. What's going on, everybody, on Apple, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok? I said Twitter. We're not live on Twitter. Used to be live on Twitter. But Don J. Givens asked what our topic was tonight. Our topic tonight is we're going to be talking about natural disasters, and we'd love for people who have may have survived natural disasters, as long as they're 18 or older, to call into the show tonight. 207-370-5852. The number is right there at the bottom of the screen. Natural disasters. Yeah, we have other disasters that we could talk about on this podcast. But before I do, let me get the disclaimer out of the way. Yeah, Don J. Givens, you nailed it right there. You nailed it. I wanted to say it, but I did not say it. Folks,
hey, let's stay on topic, Don.
We're gonna try to stay on topic. Had to make you laugh about my natural disaster. Got you, Christy. I appreciate you, folks. Whatever you see here on this show, please note that it is the views and opinions of myself, my brother, any guests who may come on to the show, whether it be through a phone call or whatever. And it's up to you what you decide to do with that information, right? Do your own research. I always tell everybody, do your own research. I'm not going to say other certain things, but please just do your own research and do with it as you please. Otherwise, everything that Gary and I say is for entertainment purposes only. And I hope y'all enjoy the show. Hopefully we can get some more folks to call into the show today, because it would be wonderful to, hear some people's experiences. I, for one, have only been through one tornado in my life, and I was lying in a ditch when it came flying through us. And that was when I was in basic training. That was an interesting experience myself. But
it was a tornado.
It was a tornado. Yeah, man. So I was on Fort Lindenwood. A lot of people know it as Fort Lawson Woods, and we had a tornado warning coming, or a tornado warning at the time. And we're on an FTX, which is a field training exercise. And we had to go lie in a ditch and wait till the tornado passed through before we could get back up. It was quite interesting. Luckily, the tornado was quite a ways away from us, but we were still lying in the ditch, and you could hear all the fucking wind and shit. It was pretty wild, man. That was like the closest I've ever been to a tornado. I mean, been in hurricanes here in Maine. Once when I was young, it was like Hurricane Gloria. I remember I was really young, but I actually remember like shit flying through my window and breaking the glass in my bedroom window and stuff like that during Hurricane Gloria. So it's pretty fucking interesting. But yeah, man, what about you? What have you experienced in your lifetime before we start watching this video on the top 10 most deadliest?
When I first moved to LA, like long time ago now, it's almost 30 years ago now. That's when the Northridge earthquake hit. So 6.5, 6.6 earthquake or whatever happened at like 4 a.m. I was, spending the night at one of my buddy's house. We'd play video games or whatever. And his bedroom was downstairs in his little condo, his mom's condo. And basically it was on the ground. It was on concrete with like one of those like really thin, like little outdoor rugs.
Yep.
Right. And so that was his room. And I was sleeping on the floor, and when I was like a 11-year-old kid, like I was tiny. I was super skinny, super light.
You
But that
were a
earth,
skinny little fuck.
yeah, I mean, I still am, but it is what it is. But
Not
but that
much.
shit literally picked me up and threw me into the closet door.
No shit.
Dude, that's how I woke up. I was like in the air slamming into the door, and I'm like, "Oh my god." Like I'd never knew what an earthquake was. So that shit was absolutely terrifying. I'm like trying to shake my friend awake. He's fucking slept through it like a I don't know how people could sleep through that shit, but he slept through it. His mom came running down, took us outside or whatever. Called dad, let him know everything was all good, but that shit was terrifying to be a little kid from the woods of Maine, like first year in
Right?
California or some shit, like just totally getting rocked. It was gnarly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to the basics of it. Maine, like that's the state I live in, right? Nothing ever really happens in Maine. Maine always gets missed by the really, really big hurricanes. Maine's lucky to get a massive hurricane maybe once every like 10 to 15 years.
You guys
Maine,
get gnarly snow though.
we do get gnarly snow, but not so bad lately. Like the
Not
last few
anymore,
years,
not like
yeah,
30,
the
40
last few
years ago,
years have
right?
been like fucking easy. We get little tiny ass like little rumbles on the ground, maybe a maximum, maybe a 3.0 would be the max earthquake Maine's really ever gotten. And it's extremely light, right? You feel a quick rumble and it's gone. Otherwise, Maine doesn't get shit, man. Does get some gnarly, like severe thunder showers that come through. We get the little wind pockets. We'll get tornado warnings, but maybe one or two tornadoes will touch down in Maine every summer. But they're not massive. They're not massive at all. They're considered like small tornadoes for Maine.
Yeah.
So we don't really get much there. So, but no, man. So yeah, going from a kid to Maine to Cali, experiencing an earthquake like that, it's pretty intense.
It was pretty wild, man. It definitely shook me a lot. And I
So
had a few other earthquakes while I was there, but like a couple of 5 somethings, but nothing that big ever again.
guys, we got a bunch of shit coming over through here over on TikTok. Somebody said we already read the survive the Hurricane Sandy. Someone says we had a tornado come through in town 45 minutes away from us. I'm not sure where Mindy Lane is from, but Mindy Lane's talking about a tornado. Someone says I survived the Stockton, Missouri tornado back in 2003. I wonder if we'll come across that in the video we're going to look. I don't recall that one. Do you recall the Stockton?
I think my buddy was at my buddy was in Missouri when I think it was in Missouri. Is that what that person just said?
Missouri, yep.
Yeah. So I think my buddy was out there during that time. And he said it was pretty gnarly. It was like a F4, F5. It was a big one, I believe.
Oh, wow.
It was a pretty gnarly hurricane and or tornado or whatever it was. It was gnarly from what my buddy told me at least.
Gotcha. And then, somebody else was also an F5. They're saying Toxic Man over on TikTok saying it was an F5.
Yeah. So that's the one my buddy was in. He said it was pretty gnarly.
All right. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know what I would do with that, man. I think I'd start saying Auntie M, and wait for the Wicked Witch of the West if that happened to me, man. But
That's a gnarly, powerful storm.
wonder how big that has to be. That's going to be at least, a mile wide, right?
I think it's like the wind speed is pretty intense, and it's huge.
That's fucking crazy. Then someone was talking about the tornadoes in LA. Well, LA's got some interesting weather. You guys, we're going to be getting to like some top 10 deadliest ones here soon, but we got a lot of chatter coming over on TikTok. Someone's talking about tornadoes in LA. Well, I mean, not only did they have tornadoes, but LA had snow this year.
Yeah, LA got really fucking rocked this winter. They had some crazy weather going through there. Tornadoes, crazy snow.
Interesting.
Might as well just top it off with a fat little earthquake here at some point,
Right? You imagine if LA ever got like a foot of snow. How
the mountains, Southern California got hit with like we have a friend that's living in the mountains, like near San Bernardino.
Yeah.
And I guess they got like 3.5 feet.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
That is absolutely insane.
It's a lot of snow.
That's a
lot of snow
for
that far down. I mean, she's in the mountains, but it's not like crazy elevation, and it's kind of a desert, but they got a lot of snow dumped on them.
No shit.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, folks, we're going to keep moving forward. We got a video to watch of the top 10 deadliest natural disasters. If you've ever been through a natural disaster and you want to talk about it, your experience about it, Feel free to call in 207-370-5852. The phone lines are open. We are taking calls. Please be 18 or older. If your voice doesn't sound 18, I will hang up on you. If you veer away from the topic of tonight's podcast, I will hang up on you. I'll probably be a little funny about it as I do it, and I will call you out over on, the podcast. But it's all fun and games. Please note we're trying to stay on track tonight the best possible way we can. I mean, I did like Don J. Givens' comment over on Facebook. That was a great comment. Biggest natural disaster I went through was living with you. Really, Cat? So over on TikTok, I got a buddy of mine that when he came back, he was living out of state. When he came back into Maine, he lived with us for like a month and a half. So his comment was the biggest natural disaster he went through was living with us. He couldn't. My kids beat him up, man. My kids gave him a run for his money. It was great.
Well, he probably deserved it.
It probably did. I ain't gonna lie. My kids don't pick on nobody just for nothing.
Right.
Folks, bear with me too. I am running a little cold. They beat me every day. He says. We're gonna go over to the screen share. I found this pretty cool this YouTube video called 10 Deadliest Natural Disasters of All Time. We're going to watch a little bit, but we'll stop it in between, talk about them. The username on this YouTube is Top Trending, and we're going to go right over to it now. And there we are. You see it, Gary?
Yep.
Fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and run this video here and see what's happening.
Events and tectonic shifts can prove too great for people to overcome. Though it's rare, nature will occasionally unleash a terrible malady upon an unsuspecting community. From ancient earthquakes to vicious cyclones, we're counting down the top 10 most devastating natural disasters of all time. Number 10, 1976 Tangshan earthquake.
I guess before we get further, I guess you and I are not going to remember this.
Nope, slightly before my time.
Well, 4 years before my time. All right, let's rock it. Tangshan, that would be, let's find out.
The Tangshan earthquake struck early in the morning of July 28, 1976. Most people were asleep when the earthquake jolted them awake with a 7.6 magnitude blast. Just as devastating was the 7.1 magnitude aftershock that rocked the city only 15 hours later. Though scientific earthquake prediction is in its nascent stages, nature often gives some advance warning of an impending earthquake. In a village outside of Tangshan, well water reportedly rose and fell 3 times the day before the earthquake.
Oh, wow.
In another village, gas began to spout out the water well on July 12th and eventually caught fire. Animals also reportedly acted strange, with forest creatures running hurriedly to find a hiding spot. Once the quake was over, the survivors scrambled out into the open, only to see the entire city leveled. After an initial period of shock, the survivors began to dig through debris to answer the muffled calls for help, as well as find loved ones still under rubble. The death toll? Because China had a very inexact means of calculating, estimates range from 242,000 people. Number 9,
all right, stop right there.
526
So interesting, though. Interesting, right? So we're coming at number 9. We're still in earthquakes for the biggest natural disasters, which is kind of interesting. Seems like ex-wives and ex-girlfriends are pretty much a big natural disaster too in the TikTok land. That's why I was starting to chuckle. Like it was going crazy. There are people talking about their exes being. So that's why I started chuckling. So folks, please know I was not chuckling at the natural disaster that they were talking about with the earthquake. I was laughing over on the TikTok side there. I was trying to hold the straight face. It's really hard when I'm watching the TikTok chat.
Pretty interesting though that the well raised and lowered multiple times throughout the day.
Right?
Like that's a pretty interesting, like I know about the animals, acting funny before earthquakes and like there's a couple of other things, but like that's interesting. I never thought about how a well would respond pre-earthquake.
Well, we got to think the ground's got to be shaking pre-earthquake, right? It's already got to be shaking somewhat below. So
like there's something going on, like pressure, like
maybe a pressure building.
I don't know.
Anybody got any answers to this on the earthquakes? We would love to hear it.
Yeah, I never heard about the well thing before.
Right. The well thing is definitely interesting. All right, let's go to number 9. It's another earthquake. This is very interesting how so far the earthquakes are now. I'll be curious what the top number 1 is. All right, let's go with number 9.
The Byzantine Empire saw its very roots shaken, literally and figuratively, by this massive earthquake estimated at 7.0 magnitude with 18 months of aftershocks and 250,000 lives lost.
I want to pause real quick. Why do we as humans, we know it's 7.0, but why do we always say 7.0 when O is not a number? O is a letter.
Same thing when you're giving out a phone number, 207.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So 207, you're going 20. Why do we do that? Like, why we were trained in school what numbers and letters were, and we resort to.
It's just easier to say O than 0. I feel like 0 requires more
more work,
more effort. Yeah.
Right?
O versus Z.
It just it's what I heard her saying. I'm like, wait a minute, you're making an educational video here, and you're going to use 0.0 to. All right, I'm just proceeding.
Everybody, yeah, we all do it. We all do
it. All right, let's go.
The earthquake severely damaged the majority of buildings in Antioch, including Constantine's great octagonal church Domus Aurea, built on an island in the Orontes River. Strangely enough, the houses that lay closest to the mountain were the only ones to survive intact. Most of the damage, however, was a result of the fires that raged for many days in the immediate aftermath of the earthquake, made worse by the wind. One of the victims was Euphrasius, the patriarch of Antioch, who fell into a cauldron of pitch being used by wineskin makers. Tragically, only his head remained. The population of Antioch at this time was only 500,000, meaning that more than half of the citizens were killed in the terrible tragedy. Even 1,500 years later, this is still one of the most devastating natural disasters of all time. Number 8, 1920 Haiwan earthquake.
Wow, it is earthquake after earthquake.
I mean, earthquakes are pretty gnarly, and they cause tsunamis,
right?
There hasn't been. I mean, Mount St. Helens was like. I mean, I guess there have been some pretty crazy volcanic eruptions as well, but.
Yeah, but there's also been some gnarly fucking hurricanes. I wonder if Katrina made it on the list because I mean Katrina was huge, man.
We got 7 more to go for this one.
We do got 7 more. Oh, let's go. We're on earthquake still. So this one's in 1920, man. 1920. Look at the outfits right there, too.
100 years ago, dude.
Right. Look at the outfits. So, like, when I look at old pictures from back in the day, man, it's insane. Like, I just found out our town that I live in is 420 years old.
Hey.
That's when it was founded. Easy. All right, let's go with the next.
December 16th, 1920 Haiwan earthquake, which registered a 7.8 magnitude on the Richter scale, caused rivers to change course and sent landslides pouring down mountains. The destruction of homes and granaries beneath collapsed hills subjected the initial survivors both to hunger and to exposure to windstorms and snowfall that immediately followed the quake. Vulnerable to bandit activity, many thousands roamed in a deformed landscape that was stripped of its roads and devoid of standing structures and familiar natural landmarks. Post-quake investigations unfortunately do not make it clear what portion of total fatalities may have been due to ground shaking versus landslides, or to starvation or exposure in the quake's aftermath, a subject of much debate. As if the earthquake itself wasn't enough, the following century ushered in a horrible quality of life for many of the people who call this region home. After decades of rebuilding, Haiwan is close to its former glory. Almost exactly 100 years later, this still stands as one of the deadliest natural disasters of the 20th century. 1737 Calcutta cyclone.
Here we go. We're on something different than a earthquake now. All right. It's very interesting, right? That the first 3 we watch are friggin' earthquakes. I had got a little tongue twister there.
Earthquakes are gnarly, man. They're powerful.
Earthquakes are gnarly. They definitely are. We're going to keep moving. I'm going to tell you, Gary, though, I'm telling you, I think the number one natural disaster are ex-wives and ex-boyfriends and girlfriends, man. It's blowing up like crazy right now on TikTok. I'm telling you, everybody over on TikTok chat is calling out their exes. It's crazy, my man. It's crazy.
A lot of people have bad judgment is what that tells me.
Right? Hi, Dad and Uncle. What the hell? Oh, shit. All right. Well, let's move on. Number 7, 1737 Calcutta cyclone. Let's see what this one's all about here. Here we go. And I'm trying to click the wrong play button. There we
The
go.
Hooghly River cyclone of 1737 is recorded as one of the deadliest natural disasters of all time. The
Interesting.
cyclone, often referred to as the Calcutta cyclone, did widespread damage to the low-lying areas in the region. The cyclone caused a storm surge 30 to 40 feet in the Ganges, with a reported 15 inches of rain falling in a 6-hour period.
Oh,
The
wow.
storm tracked approximately 200 miles inland before dissipating. In the city of Calcutta, the majority of structures, which were mostly made of mud with straw roofs, were destroyed, with many brick structures also damaged beyond repair. In the Ganges, 8 out of 9 boats were lost, along with most of their crews, and 3 out of 4 Dutch ships also went down. The total death count was 300,000
Woo!
people. India's Ganges River Delta is prone to tropical cyclones. Additional cyclones with death tolls reported over 10,000 people struck more than 10 times over the next 2 centuries. They are particularly deadly because the Ganges River Delta is so densely populated. 18
That is quite interesting, right? Just imagine the lives lost. I mean, just think about it for a second in the sea. Imagine the sea is so big, right? We have not discovered everything within the ocean. Like, there's so much more to be discovered in the ocean. Like, how many lost souls are out in that ocean, dude? From these
Countless.
natural disasters, from these
Countless.
storms. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't think we've officially ever been to the extreme bottom of the ocean, have we?
We have
We have.
the bottom of the Mariana Trench. We've been there.
We have been there.
But that's like just a small portion of the amount of acreage that's underwater is ridiculous.
Right.
So there's no way, unless we start using massive efforts with a tremendous amount of technology, we will never be able to scour the entire ocean floor.
It's just crazy if you just sit there and think about that for a minute, though. How many lives are lost? How much history is in the ocean alone? Like, how much history is there at the bottom of the ocean that we don't know about? Stories that could tell us more about what to come, because they always say history repeats itself, right?
I mean, I'm more curious about what kind of sea life is under there that we've yet to discover.
Right. Well, we've already talked. Woolly mammoths are coming back. So what real dinosaurs could still exist within the ocean?
Megalodons.
Right? Oh my God. You imagine there's megalodons.
That'd be so dope to be
Dude,
honest.
that'd be fucking insane.
Just waking up from its like 300-year nap.
Right? It'd be fucking hungry as hell, dude.
Dope, I know, right?
Let's go on to the next one here.
1839 India cyclone. On November 25, 1839, a brutal cyclone slammed the bustling port city of Karinga in India. Tied with 1737 Calcutta cyclone for the second deadliest cyclone in recorded history, this natural disaster also resulted in 300,000 deaths.
Wow.
Strong winds and a
300,000 is like the other one.
40-foot storm surge resulted in absolute chaos that went on for many weeks. Even after the initial shock, citizens were unable to find clean drinking water or food and perished of hunger and dehydration. Though the port city was hit by a similar storm only 50 years earlier, it only resulted in 20,000 deaths and the city was able to rebound. Sadly, this was not the case for the second Karinga cyclone. The community, once nicknamed Hope Island, was reduced to rubble and was never
That is
fully rebuilt.
absolutely nuts.
Beyond the human tragedy, more than 20,000 shipping vessels were destroyed, thus ruining the commerce and economy of the city. Those who survived were forced to move on to new communities and attempt to start a new life. To this day, Karinga remains a sleepy fishing village. Tragically, the trauma of the disaster was too great to overcome for its residents. Number 5.
You know what, though? As I'm watching that video and just looking at those pictures, granted, we all love our electronics, right? We love what we do with electronics. But you imagine, granted, those people work every day, how much happier their lives are without the world of electronics.
Dude.
Like, their only worry is to feed their family, make sure the family's got food on the table. They're not really worried about, I mean, they probably do got some bills, but not much. They're not worried about, playing on their cell phones. They're not worried about fucking video game. Those people are out there just living life, family and life. That's it.
Yep. Get food, hang out with
Get
the family, survive another day.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Folks, listen, I'm enjoying watching your TikTok chatter down there about X's. I'm willing to engage if anybody, wants to have a chit chat. The phone number's there on the podcast. Feel free to call in. I'll show you all the number real quick. We'll go over here real quick, just show y'all. 207-370-5852. Why not? Let's have some fun as we're doing this show. All right, back.
Someone's just going to call in just to talk shit about their ex.
Yeah, why the hell not? Let's have some fun. All right, number 5, 2010 Haiti earthquake. Let's go. Another earthquake.
2010 Haiti earthquake. The only fully contemporary disaster in the top 10, the 2010 Haiti earthquake has ongoing
like
consequences.
7.0 and above is
The
where
island
they're
nation
at,
of
but-
10 million people was already struggling with severe economic issues when the earthquake struck. So, when the 7.0 magnitude quake hit the capital of Port-au-Prince, the country was entirely unprepared. On top of this initial shock, there were more than 50 aftershocks recorded in the coming days. The government of Haiti estimated that 250,000 residences and 30,000 commercial buildings had collapsed or were severely damaged. The nation's history of national debt, prejudicial trade policies by other countries, and foreign intervention into national affairs contributed to the existing poverty and poor housing conditions that increased the death toll from the disaster. Though official records have been disputed, the Haitian government reported 316,000 fatalities resulting from the earthquake. Not only were many people killed, the disaster also displaced at least 1.5 million people, many of whom still do not have permanent housing almost 10 years later. Beyond this, much of the public infrastructure, from hospitals to schools, is still not operational, creating a much lower quality of life for the people of Haiti. The country is still accepting donations and support from the international community. Number 4.
That
Hold
is
on.
absolutely insane. Go for it.
So Haiti, I watched a video on Haiti, kind of a sidetrack from
Yeah.
natural disasters, but like that Port-au-Prince area in Haiti, I'll send you a clip to watch. I can't remember this guy's video, but he went out there and he had to have like a tour guide, and like he's a reporter, and he got up close and personal with a lot of folks that are living in Haiti. And right now, those folks are still living in a ridiculous level of poverty. Like,
I mean, look at that video. It looked like I'm
Dude,
not trying
it's
to be
like
mean, but it
that
looked like a
now.
junkyard, dude, with all those
It's
cars
like
all
that.
the time.
so people are literally living in like dumps. Like, it's a dump. They're burning tires to like cook food. It's extremely toxic. Like, they have bathrooms that are built over the like the shallow part of the beach, and so they're defecating in the water, and then they're going into that water to bathe, and then they're going into that water to catch fish to eat. Like, they're literally living in tin cans.
That's crazy.
Like, it's the like I watched a bunch of this journalist's videos, and it put shit into perspective real quick for me. Like, anybody who thinks they're having a bad day, if they watch that, they will realize that their life here in America, in any first world country, life is so fucking easy that we're concerned about pronouns. Like, that's how easy life is. Straight up. Like, we're so lucky to live a life that's so easy that we have to make up problems. We have to create problems because we are not literally fighting to survive on a daily basis in modern society.
Right.
It's like the people that are living in Haiti and any of these like crazy places, man, it's like people need to really have some perspective and be very beyond grateful for the shit that we have in our life. So
Agreed.
yeah, back to the natural disasters.
Yeah, let me respond to C. Cruz over there. They're talking about, hey, you could always open up boxes and TikTok as an alternative to phone calls. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, we can't the way we're doing this stream. We're using a TikTok streaming key. And this is a broadcasting software. So that we're broadcasting on TikTok, yes, but we're doing it a different way. Whereas we're using a software that connects to TikTok. We're not using the actual TikTok app to broadcast this podcast to you folks over on TikTok. Just
so
so you guys know.
Call in. Call in.
So call in. All right. Number 4, 1970 Bola cyclone. Son of a bitch. Hold on.
1970 Bola cyclone.
Sup?
The Bola cyclone occurred from November 8th until November 13th, starting in the Bay of Bangladesh and moving up toward East Pakistan. It was a Category 4 cyclone in the Saffir-Simpson scale, which means that the average wind speed was between 131 miles per hour and 155 miles per hour. It's considered one of the deadliest weather-related disasters, both due to natural and human causes. This particular cyclone set off a chain of events that started a civil war, created the state of Bangladesh, and created the organization Doctors Without Borders.
Oh, wow.
The cyclone flooded many low-lying islands, effectively drowning their residents, and pummeled the coast with relentless winds that went on for more than a week. In all, 500,000 people lost their lives, and the history of the region was forever changed. The Bola cyclone began with the help of a leftover tropical storm that was breaking up in the Pacific Ocean. This contributed to a tropical depression that formed on November 8, 1970 in the Bay of Bengal. It traveled north from there towards East Pakistan and intensified. By the time it reached land, the cyclone was one of the most powerful in recorded history, and like the other disasters in the Ganges River Delta, it struck a densely populated area. After a botched effort to receive emergency supplies from India, many died of starvation waiting for aid that had already been donated. This still stands as the deadliest cyclone in modern history. Number 3, 15.
That is absolutely crazy, right? Just to think that as we're watching this, you would think that Katrina would have made it. And we still haven't made it to number 1 yet. But you'd think that we'd have one here in the U.S. We have yet to come across any in the U.S. yet as like the deadliest natural disaster. So to think that the U.S. so far is out of like context of the 10 deadliest natural disasters, insane. It's all within other countries. I mean, we're going to keep going. We still got two more to go through after this one. We'll find out. Here we go. Number 3. Wow. 1556. Holy shit. All right. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah. These are all very old natural disasters.
I mean, I could do the newest one, but I typed in the deadliest.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like these are gnarly deadly, and so it's
Right.
interesting. And again, it puts things into perspective for like modern day living, even in a
Right.
country like Haiti from not that long ago, 2010?
Yeah.
They got rocked, but they're also third world, and there's like modern day. I don't know. I just feel like it's things have come a long way to help survive these types of natural disasters.
Right.
56 Shanxi earthquake. Officially the deadliest earthquake in recorded history, the Shanxi earthquake occurred on the morning of January 23, 1556 in Shanxi during the Ming Dynasty. The resultant damage across a region stretching for hundreds of miles was extensive, and the loss of life horrific. Although the upheaval lasted only for a few seconds, it leveled mountains, opened fissures up to 66 feet deep in the
Holy
earth,
shit.
altered the path of rivers, caused massive flooding, produced massive landslides, and ignited fires that lasted for days. Over half the population of Huazhou was killed, as every single home and building was destroyed in an upheaval that probably registered 8 on the Richter scale. An unbelievable 830,000 people lost their lives in this deadly quake. In addition to significant loss of life reaching into the hundreds of thousands, the earthquake caused significant cultural damage. The small Wild Goose Pagoda, built in 709, lost its top floor and about 6 feet of height. The most significant cultural loss was a collection known as the Tang Stone Classics, a group of 12 early Chinese classic works, about 650,000 characters in length, that were engraved on 114 stone tablets on the orders of a 9th century emperor. 40 of those tablets were broken during the earthquake. Number 2, 1887 Yellow River flood.
Wow.
The Yellow River is the second longest river in China, and due
China.
to its silt content, has been prone to
China's got
flooding for the
history.
entirety of human civilization. As rain began to intensify in the first weeks of September 1887, farmers and workers began to worry. They all knew the legends of errant flooding and fatal overflow of the Yellow River's banks. Those suspicions were confirmed when the river began to flood for 3 months. Owing to the low-lying plains near the area, the flood spread very quickly throughout northern China, covering an estimated 50,000 square miles, swamping agricultural settlements and commercial centers. After the flood, 2 million were left homeless. The resulting pandemic and lack of basic essentials claimed as many lives as those lost directly to the flood. In total, more than 900,000 people lost their lives in this disaster, making it the second deadliest disaster in world history. Number 1. 1931 China floods.
Not a single U.S. Folks, I'm going to check out the U.S. deadliest ones after this because I'm very curious. Like, U.S. didn't make it once on the top 10 deadliest. That's interesting. Let's go with this. Finish this one out.
This disaster bears a resemblance to the previous Yellow River floods. China is an example of a very old civilization, and many of China's oldest cities are built near rivers. These rivers have flooded throughout Chinese history, but no year was as bad as 1931. In this year, 3 of China's biggest rivers, the Yellow, Yangtze, and Huai, all flooded. Between the actual floods and the problems they created, somewhere between 1 and 4 million people were killed.
Oh, wow.
Even in a civilization as ancient as China, this became the worst natural disaster ever recorded. Rivers throughout the country rose onto their plains, inundating an area the size of England and half of Scotland combined. Around a tenth of the Chinese population was affected, either by death, injury, or displacement. While the scale of this disaster was exceptional, devastating floods and droughts had become increasingly common in China since the 19th century. Political instability, economic turmoil, and incessant warfare had left the population vulnerable to environmental hazards. In most cases, rural communities bore the brunt of these disasters, but the 1931 flood was so extensive that cities also suffered. Over the past century, China has rebuilt along these floodplains, preparing for the next major natural disaster.
That's crazy, right? Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze. I'm hoping that you can take over for a second.
Between 1 and 4 million people died. So I wonder, a 3 million people gap is a pretty big gap. So why? Right. 4 million people, that's a tremendous amount of death.
That is exactly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the search over here. Deadliest natural disaster to happen. All right, before I go find
just
out.
Just say in America.
Well, hold on. Before I hit enter on this, does anybody want to take any guesses? Gary?
Deadliest natural disasters. We haven't really had too many natural. Probably Katrina, whatever the volcano was in Washington that I said earlier that I can't remember right now for some reason. Those are probably, Yellowstone, but there was probably not a lot of people 400,000 years ago or whatever.
All right.
Yeah, I really don't know,
Hurricane Andrew, Seacross is saying over on, looks like Twitch. Seacross is saying, yep, it's Twitch. All right, so we got Hurricane Andrew as a guest by Seacross. Let's find out where we pull up. Deadliest natural disaster to happen in the U.S. Let's see what YouTube tells us. Deadliest natural disaster hit the United States at 22 flash. This was actually 1 month ago. I'm curious. Hold on. I'm curious on this one.
That's a warning.
Right, but I'm curious now.
Yeah, propaganda. All right, go for it. It's 10-minute video on a warning. I call horse shit.
You call horse shit? All right, we don't have to watch it. Top 10 most dramatic footage of natural disasters caught on camera.
You never know when disaster is going to strike, but sometimes
That's really
cameras
cool, but
capture
it's
the
in the
drama and devastation. Welcome to WatchMojo.com,
What if I
and
can
today
make-
we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most dramatic footage of
wow.
natural disasters. Before we
That
begin,
I kind
we
of
publish
remember.
new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list,
Yeah, a
we're
handful of
looking at
years
the most
ago.
extraordinary footage of
Right.
adverse natural events caught on camera. Number 10, the Great Miami Tornado.
I remember that.
Tornadoes seem to love wide open spaces. But in May 1997, an F1 tornado decided to march right into Miami.
So wait,
As if realizing-
we're talking about an F5, right? That your buddy was involved with. This is just an F1.
That was an F5 hurricane, though.
Touche.
its mistake, the Twister tripped lightly through downtown, bumped into a cruise ship, jumped over most of Biscayne Bay, flipped a car, and then vanished. The damage was small, but the apocalyptic images of a tornado looming amidst skyscrapers grabbed international headlines.
The noise was something like I never had something like that.
Of course, tornadoes don't
Look at that
actually prefer farmland. There's just more rural area in the world than urban. And the footage of the Great Miami Tornado was a dramatic reminder that even tornadoes sometimes visit the big city.
They don't discriminate.
Number 9, debris flow in Grunier, Switzerland. In August 2018, the sleepy alpine village Grunier in Chamazon, Switzerland, received an unexpected and decidedly unwelcome visitor. It began as a rumble and was at first confined to a
That's
narrow
crazy.
canal.
Look at that.
But as shocked
That's fucking
onlookers watched
gnarly.
and filmed, the river of
Imagine
Black
driving on
Mud
the road and seeing
overwhelmed
that
the
shit.
channel and rampaged through the town, over
damn.
roads and into cars
That's
and
dirt,
houses.
ain't it?
The disaster came after intense rainfall
Oh.
from a sudden storm, which had caused a river higher up the mountain to burst its banks. there
Holy
were no reported casualties, but a heck
Dude,
of
that
a lot
mountain
of
got
mess.
excited. Look at it blow
Number
its load
8,
all over the
Mount
street.
Ontake
Dear
eruption.
God.
When we think volcanoes, we think fire and brimstone, rivers of lava, and a rain of hot hell from above. Pyroclastic flows, however, which are currents of gas and volcanic debris, are often much deadlier, rushing downhill at average speeds of 62 miles per hour, and sometimes up to 7 times faster than that. In September 2014, as hikers strolled up Mount Ontake on the Japanese island Honshu, a cloud of steam and
I wish
ash
that was my
suddenly
wife after
exploded from the
it's
summit
Oh,
and
you're
unfurled across
fucked.
the sky. The onrushing flow was captured by a documentary crew and by a hiker as he scrambled for cover.
Dude, look at
63
that.
people lost
You
their
imagine
lives.
seeing that coming
the
after
hiker
you?
here was one of the lucky ones. Number 7, Loma Prieta earthquake. On Tuesday afternoon, October 17th, 1989, thousands of baseball fans waited with bated breath in San
And-
Francisco's
oh,
Candlestick Park
remember
for
hearing about
Game
this.
3 of the World Series, while others watched from home on TV. What they got was something else. It was the first live broadcast of a major earthquake on national television.
I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
A slip in the San Andreas Fault triggered a short but powerful earthquake of magnitude 6.9 on the Richter scale,
Oh, wow.
sending
Oof.
the Bay Area into chaos and leaving 63 dead and thousands injured.
That's
Security cameras and camcorders captured the moment when the banal suddenly became the unimaginable, as shoppers dodged shelves and students were jostled in their classrooms.
Dude, look at the bridge. You
Number
imagine being on a
6,
bridge
the
or something like
Chelyabinsk
that.
meteor. A catastrophe from space is probably the last kind of disaster you
I've
expect.
always been waiting
But
for one of those to
meteors
happen.
enter our atmosphere more
will.
often than we'd like to dwell
Right?
on. Right, dinosaurs? In 1908, an explosion attributed to a meteorite over the Stony Tunguska River in Russia flattened 770 square miles of woodland.
Oh, wow.
More recently, on the morning of February 15th, 2013,
I remember this.
Russia was visited from space again.
I remember
this
this
time
all
over
over the news
Chelyabinsk
and social
Oblast
media.
in the Ural region. Multiple dash cams caught a searing white light trailing fire across the sky before it exploded in midair, shattering windows and injuring at least 1,500 people.
I remember
And
that.
then all hell broke loose. Dizzying
Sounds like a
explosions,
fucking
shattering
mortar.
windows, knocking these office workers to the ground.
Number 5, the Indian Ocean Tsunami. Propelled by a powerful undersea earthquake, the Indian Ocean Tsunami devastated the coastlines of 14 countries. It was one of the worst natural disasters.
My
in
boss was
recorded
out there for
history,
this.
with a horrific
Really?
estimated death
Was
toll
he on
of
vacation?
230,000.
He was on vacation. Pause this real quick.
Parts of Indonesia, Thailand,
So he was out there for this, and he literally like got off the beach without knowing what was happening. He was just like casually cruising away, hopped in a taxi and was like driving to the next beach while all this shit was going on. They got to the next beach and it was fucking devastated. And he's just like, what the fuck just happened? And then they found out what happened. And it was like,
Oh shit.
that's got to be one of the gnarliest things. Like, you're just cruising casually, and then you get to the beach, and it's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, you just left the other beach, and this is only like a 10-minute drive. Like, pretty gnarly to like show up and everything is just destroyed.
That
Couldn't
is
even
crazy.
imagine.
And Malaysia, the sea first receded, enticing people to run out onto the exposed sand and reefs. But massive tsunamis up to 100 feet high soon followed. At some beaches, the first wave seemed harmless, but as they grew in strength, they inundated homes, hotels, and streets.
Nuts right
Home
there.
recordings from the tragedy shocked the world, showing
Can you imagine
people
being in
riding
your house
waves of
seeing a
debris
fucking wave
or
coming at you?
floating adrift in drowned cities. Number 4, the California wildfires.
I remember that.
In
We
the
saw
second half
smoke
of
here in Maine from that.
2017,
It came all the way
worst
traveling.
wildfires on record raged through California, destroying almost 10,000 structures and
You were
taking
living
the
out in
lives
California
of
during that, weren't you?
47 people.
Yep. That's
First
right before I
responders
moved.
caught stunning
Hey,
footage
cars
of
were
the
covered in
Tubbs
ash,
and
weren't they?
Atlas fires
Yep.
as they drove through the inferno and fought the flames. But some of the most memorable and frightening
Yes.
footage was taken by a driver on the Interstate 405.
It's the
As
405
December's
going into the
Skirball
valley.
fire consumed
Oh,
the
wow.
Sepulveda Pass in Bel Air. The entire hillside seemed to be one glowing coal.
That's going
like a
from LA
hellish
into the
mountain.
Simi Valley.
The fire
North
burned
Ridge.
through
Oh, shit.
422 acres before it was contained.
That's crazy.
Number 3,
fucking-
Everest avalanche. In the wake of the April 2015 Gorkha earthquake, footage from around Nepal showed temples toppled and homes reduced to rubble. Almost 9,000 people lost their lives in the tragedy. Meanwhile, on the roof of the world, even the mountains shook from the quake, sending an
Salute to the
avalanche down
world,
from the
huh?
peak of Pumori near Everest. Hikers at South Base Camp heard the rumble and felt the ground tremble first, before a massive blast of snow swept over them.
Oh, wow. Oh,
The survivors emerged into a white world of torn tents and buried equipment, with at least
wow.
19 people killed in the terrible disaster. Number 2, the Mount St. Helens eruption.
That's
I
the
remember
one
Mount
right
St.
there.
Weeks-long
yeah.
buildup of Washington State's infamous stratovolcano in 1980 was slow and spectacular. Blue flame burned in the
I've read about
stratovolcano's
that and learned
craters,
about it in
and
school, but-
lightning generated by static electricity arced through ash clouds. The ground shook and steam hissed from the summit. But this was all just a prelude to the morning of May 18th. In one unbelievable moment, the north flank slid away, triggering a massive VEI-5 eruption that tragically killed more than 50 people. The entire mountainside seems to disintegrate and pour away like liquid in the largest landslide ever recorded, and the
That's
most disastrous
insane.
eruption in American history. Number 1, the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. Footage of the Tohoku tsunami revealed scenes of unparalleled devastation.
that was after the earthquake. I think
Waves
that's the big
barreled
one.
over houses,
Isn't
and
it?
entire towns
No, I think
disappeared, while
Fukushima.
boats and flaming debris were carried far inland. Sweeping over northeast Japan, the tsunami took the lives of 16,000 and destroyed countless homes. From above, its dramatic, unstoppable advance had the horrifying quality of a nightmare. On the ground, people ran up hillsides to escape, as streets became rushing waterways. These apocalyptic scenes shocked the world, the result of an earthquake so powerful, it shifted the planet on its axis.
New technology left an enormous amount of visual evidence for study in years to come, and can perhaps help us better understand the power of earthquakes and tsunamis and prevent.
Did they
loss of
talk
life
about global
in the future.
Do
warming?
you agree with our
But when you have natural disasters like this, hold on. Natural disasters like this, the earthquake shifting the earth as its own on the axis, just shifting the axis is going to change our weather pattern.
Totally.
So is it really global warming, or is it Mother Nature just taking our course?
I'm not a fan of the whole global warming thing, to be honest. I feel like the earth goes through seasons. Like we have 4 seasons in a year, and people forget that there's a larger cycle to the seasons on earth, right? So they're
Right.
25,000 year cycles. And it's just like we're just coming out of an ice age.
Yeah.
Like it's only been 11,000 years since like the since the glaciers receded on the northern hemisphere. So it's like, are we causing damage? Yeah. Are we polluting the shit out of the place? Yeah. But are cow farts causing global warming? No. Are private aircraft causing global warming? Not to the degree that people are making claims for. Like, I don't think we're helping things with what we're doing, but I don't believe in the common rhetoric behind global warming.
Right. I guess the reason why I kind of agreed to doing this show too, when you talk about it, it's like, yeah, well, this is a great way to tell people that, so everybody's talking about prepping for government fallouts and so forth like that. But in all reality, you should be prepping for events like this as well. Like prepping is not a bad thing to do. Prepping is a legitimately good thing to do for every household, no matter what. Whether it's because you believe of, stuff that's happened politically wise, or because of what we're seeing here, natural disasters, you should always be prepared to at least have at least 2 weeks worth of food and water in your home to get you by in case if anything happens. And bug out bags are good too. Look at that tsunami. Wouldn't it be nice to have a bug out bag for you and your family? Just get up and go and get out as quick as possible as you can. And you got a bag of food and water, medical supplies and stuff like that. Yeah, prepping is not just for crazy people that some people like to call. Prepping is good for everybody.
Totally.
To prep is smart. To make sure you have food and water for you and your family in case of anything that happens. Imagine being trapped in your home for a week or 2 weeks after a natural disaster. Look at the people that just survived the hurricane there in Florida. The people off that island, they were trapped for weeks upon weeks without having any really medical supplies, food or water coming out to them. They had to pull together and try to survive out there.
Totally.
Prepping's big, folks. Be prepared. We're coming up to summer again. We're getting ready to come up to some more crazy weather. I'll be interested to see what kind of weather we have this year. We're already seeing some crazy ass shit.
Yeah, this year's been weird here in Oregon. We've had more hail this winter. I think the snow that fell this winter was a 10-year record. Most that we had, and it stuck around for 3-4 days, which is pretty uncommon for this area.
But I'll be honest with you, folks. I would like to, and I got to make some phone calls. We talked about mental health issues before within our podcast, and I would like to dig deep into another aspect of things of mental health. I would like to dig deep in addiction. I'd like to talk to anybody. I love to do a show on addiction, folks. So if you are an addict, been an addict, have an addict in the family, we would love to talk to you and, learn your stories, learn the struggles, life of being an addict, life of being a family member of an addict, the trials and tribulations you had to go through, what you're facing. If you've overcome that, what did you do to go through it? We understand it's a sickness, but it's been brought to my attention again that mental health is a huge issue here in America. It's not being fixed. We're more concerned about other things than we are mental health. So I know I kind of going off track, but we're about ready to wrap up here. My cold is starting to kick my butt. I feel my nose starting to clog. I can hear it changing, so I'm trying to wrap up here. But yeah, I'd like to do a show on mental health and addiction. So if anybody can reach out to me on air at themarkgshow.com, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, that's all I really got. Gary, you got anything else for today?
No, I think prepping is a good idea. And again, just keep things in perspective. We have life really, really, really good in first world countries. If you're listening to this on a device, your life is probably a lot better than you think. So just be grateful for every day.
Appreciate it. Y'all, we're going to get out of here right now. Thank you all for watching. Like I said, I feel my nose clogging up. I think I'm finally getting sick. Yeah. Let's go ahead and rock out here. I appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all soon.
You've been listening